Good evening, friends, and welcome back to Live Reality Games, the place where we are making our favorite shows into our reality. Today, we're here to talk about the best reality show, in my opinion, of them all. Survivor is back, baby, season 41. We are at episode 5. It's like day only 10 for these contestants. And just so you know, we're going to be full of spoilers. We're going to break down every moment of this episode. So if you don't want spoilers, you need to head out right now.
But please come back.
Yes, please come back. Enjoy all of, just like us, we're going to watch all of the other podcasts because there's a ton going on right now. And we're probably going to talk about some of those great ones that you can subscribe to. But guys, with us this week, we have not just one LRG from New York. We're repping a ton of live games. And in fact, New York State might be the home of more Survivor games than any other state across this great nation. So with us today, first, we have Jared, who's played in Brooklyn 2018, Brooklyn South Season 1, Buffalo Seasons 1 and 2, Hudson Valley, and where I got to meet him this summer at Survivor, Angelica, the host and co-creator of the comedy show Outwit, Outplay, Outlaugh. Jared, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me, Kirk. It was great meeting you at Angelica, where neither one of us hit each other in the face on purpose. That's a true statement. Neither one of us purposely punched the other one in the face.
And I will take a drink to that, Jared.
Like you did then.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a story I completely forgot about on purpose.
Oh, and it's the kind of story you plan on bringing up in the first 3 minutes of a podcast.
Thanks, buddy. I'm just glad he's a forgiving friend. Let's put it that way. I could have took his eye out like that chick in what's that movie where she just pops that eye right out? Kill Bill.
Sure.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
Oh, well, check it out. Quentin Tarantino, great director. Also with us, representing more LRGs from New York, McKenna, the robbed goddess of Survivor Brooklyn South.
Yes.
Season 4, I think it was.
4, yeah.
Yep. And repping Survivor New York Season 5. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, I agree. I'm seeing the notes. A lot. The resumes are huge here in this house. And not only that, McKenna, you also are a creator as well. You host your own org. Want to tell us a little bit about that?
I do. I'm one of the co-founders of Survivor Game Show Network. You can find us on all the social medias. We are currently in our middle of our season. We just hit the merge. The merge episode was yesterday, 2 days ago. So you can find us on YouTube. We film 1-day minis. We also have 39-day long games. So, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, where you'll find out the next game that we're having.
This is really exciting. What's the network called again?
Survivor Game Show Network.
Perfect. So if you are an armchair Survivor player and you've wanted to test out your strategy yourself, in these online games, we're always looking for new players, new strategies, new blood. Try it out. Check out Survivor Game Show Network for sure. I'm sure you're going to have a great time, or you're going to watch a lot of great content as well.
Yes.
We are here to talk about episode 5, but I kind of want to talk about your take on the whole series and the series coming back. Jared, how do you feel so far getting into episode 5?
So if we're going to talk about it from an overall sense, I got to come at it from a sense of how they've changed the way they tell stories. They really... they did not need to give a character like JD a heroic arc like they did. And in the past, somebody who goes around that time of the game and in the fashion that they do, they generally don't get that kind of edit. Between that and the fact that every single episode has made me cry legitimately, in a way that isn't manipulating me with the music, because like, yeah, that works too. You know, like tonight, the moment that Shan and Liliana had together, last week, the moment where Heather that Heather had at the end of the challenge, where she did not do well in, where everyone supported her. Survivor's really taking its time to show these moments, and you know, even like down to the minutia of you know, they show these slow motion moments during the challenges. You know, they're making it a more cinematic experience than it used to be. So just from that angle, I am loving it. Strategy wise, I thought like this week was sort of the most boring week strategy wise as out of all of them. Aside from like, you know, Shan taking the idol in the beginning, but like, I'll wait till we get into the nitty gritty of the episode. That's my overall thoughts about the season, though.
So not on the top tier of episodes for the season for you in regards to strategy.
Not in regards to strategy. I mean, you know, I'm also sort of salty that I had Nasir on my bench tonight for fantasy, but that's on me. You know, I think the coolest strategic thing we see out of tonight's episode, of course, is Shan deciding to take the idol and not tell Jeannie in the beginning.
I like that.
I didn't like that it was sort of a non-surprise. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. McKenna, what's your take?
I like that we care about these pre-merge boots. Like, I'm sad Jeannie's not here. JD was a character. Like, all these people you get to at least know a little bit before they're booted, where you won't have those like Morgan McDivitt from Guatemala, like who knows who she is exactly. So like, you have people that you can remember, and they might have more of a lasting impact within the Survivor community, where it's like, oh, I met them even though they went pre-merge.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Also, I want you to know that like when you said that name, I nodded and I was like, yes, but you could have been making up a name.
I'm not, I swear, she's a magician's assistant.
All right, say it again. No.
So we start off our episode at Uwa, day 10. They give us a little bird running around the shoreline. I always try to connect the dots with who is this animal in the next shot. I couldn't figure this. I literally think they just took this B-roll footage. But we get a lot of strategy about the Beware idol, or maybe lack thereof strategy. I was actually really fascinated by this whole section right at the top of the episode. And I know some fans have been talking about let's focus on the relationships and not the advantages, because it gets confusing when the gameplay happens. I felt they had a nice balance of both here. And I was very pleased with the decision making going down about the Beware advantage. In fact, I really liked the overall decision that they had. And guys, we called it a couple weeks ago with our guests. We were like, why don't they just like kind of like lie about and just like say the phrase, even if you don't have the idol, at the challenge, just to indicate and tell you who could have an idol, to give you more information. So I thought that was going to be an interesting strategy, but we see Shan just go balls to the wall like she does, and she just takes it.
Well, if Brad didn't go out with the Beware advantage, I don't think they would have known the phrase to like fake it beforehand. So like, if they did do the let's just say a random phrase, like Xander wouldn't, he'd be like, that's wrong, that's not either of the phrases. So but I thought that was an interesting idea. Ricard having a bracelet, being like, ooh, if GD opens it, we have this bracelet. And then just the Survivor composers gave Shan her song in the background. Like, they composed, I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant. Like,
you know, if you think about it, the risk reward for Shan taking that, like, the risk is pretty low for her. It's day 10, as they've noted in the beginning of the episode. They're celebrating it just like it's day 13, baby. They're a third of the way through. And the risk, the risk has to be very low, because if you're Shan, you got to think that, you know, Xander has it and is hurting for a vote. You know that guy wants his vote. And also, you got to be thinking that the people over at Uwa is the Blue Beach.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Luvu is the Blue Beach.
Luvu's Blue.
Yes, Blue Beach. Yes. So you got to be thinking that the Luvu, the 6 people there, are A, getting restless, and B, thinking that they're about to swap. So you got to think that by now, if that idol isn't found, like there's no hope. You know. So it very low risk, high reward for Shan to take that gamble.
Yeah, the only risk really is burning her relationship with Jeannie if Jeannie is to stick around, which, spoiler, everybody, we'll get to it, but Jeannie is eliminated in this episode 2-1.
But it's a good thing I played her over Nasir tonight.
Wait till you see my fantasy pick. My tribe is so sad. Anyways, but it's one of those sad stories because Jeannie starts this episode with so much trust. She feels so solid with Shan. She finally thinks she has instincts in this game, and she don't know who she's playing with.
No. Ricard and Shan run circles around her being like, hey, should we just like say the phrase? And she's like, great idea, Ricard. So smart. And I'm like, Jeannie, please.
Yeah.
So I just wanted her to pull out one move, but they were doing everything to make sure she would not pull out the shot in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I would question Ricard's moves, which I do question how he does his moves, and we'll get into that because when he calls somebody a spare tire for literally no reason, I mean, it's not even a confessional. Like, I don't know. Like, it's so cringy to me. I'm like, it's a game, but there's people's feelings too. I have a question for you guys because also Shan made a statement, the first statement strategically that I did not agree with her. She was talking about the idol that was unpowered, that she had, and she said, "This is trash. This is not going to be powerful." But Jared, I kind of disagree because I think in some ways that fake idol or that unpowered idol could be pretty powerful come merge. So I don't know about her thought process out there.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen in the past where something that looks like an immunity idol IDOL, but is really an immunity idol IDLE is powerful. Regardless, if you give it to somebody or you leave it with the rules. Although I wonder what the rules look like for the immunity idols this year. I wonder if that the only rules paper is the one with the phrases. Because if it doesn't come with the traditional rules for paper, then it is not as easy to hide a fake idol as it used to be.
Well, I think it has the congratulations paper, and I think the phrase paper is like an insert, like a separate like thing. I don't know,
okay,
but I think it still has the congratulations paper. But
okay.
that is a good thought of like, what if there's no paper?
Yeah, I mean,
there's so much text with the new rules too. It's like it goes on and on and on. And I'm like thinking back to like 2007 LRGs where it was like, you have an idol, the text is like this big. It's like, you have an idol, you're safe until 5. Good luck.
Yeah.
It's just so different. I don't know. I like it. I'm still questioning whether Xander, if the information was at the bottom of the parchment, did he just tear it off? Because I was confused when Tiffany was like, when I was confused that Tiffany was confused.
Yeah.
It seems to be how I felt about it also. Like, I guess it must be 2 different pieces of paper.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also under the impression before this episode that other people had from this tribe were already aware of it, but I must need to rewatch that.
Yeah, I thought they knew about it, that he didn't have a vote as well, but I guess they didn't.
Maybe just Evie knew that.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like in this episode, we got some of that piecemeal edit that happens in the Survivor episodes where they take stuff from maybe not episode day 10 and they kind of piece it together for a better storyline overall. I don't mind it, but it seems out of order with Yasa to me a little bit.
Well, I mean, we know that they did that. They admitted it as much when they showed Nasir finding the idol last episode.
That was
right?
cool.
That challenge happened on the first day of this episode, right? That means that when he finds it, that happens in the previous episode. So like they're getting very creative with the way they are editing the story, which I am a fan of.
Well, I kind of do that the same way when I edit like our orgs and stuff. I'll take confessionals from the last episode and put it at the beginning of the episode before, because if I take something from that episode, it's spoilery for what happens to come. So I can see, because we were spending so much time with Ua after the challenge the last time, that they're like, I have a great way to integrate this idol. And I actually said it to the friends who I was watching the episode with. I was like, either they didn't find it at all and this whole 3 tribe idol thing blows up, or they're going to flash in the middle of like the challenge or explaining or whatever. And lo and behold, Nasir finds the other half and he's like, man, I'm as confused as a goat on AstroTurf.
Yo, props to the guy who learned English playing Survivor, saying the phrase, I'm as confused as a goat on AstroTurf, like, with no suspicion. Like, yo, props to Nasir.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And kind of like the reverse props to everyone else being like, this is a little weird.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. I'm a huge Nasir fan. I love the edit. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. But if he didn't tell anybody, and there's a potential that he might have not told anybody on Blue, so Blue might be completely in the dark why these players are saying this weird shit. But the problem with this Beware Advantage, the ongoing problem, is your idol is not secret to any of these other tribes because they've told everybody. So they're waiting for this ID, this lock-in that you have an idol. And I have a feeling it is going to come back and haunt them so quick come Emerge. And also, just called it. We don't know if it's Emerge, but something's happening at 12. And
I don't think it's Emerge.
Oh shit! What do you think it is?
It might just be it might be like a small tribe swap, because maybe they didn't expect Ua to go down to 2 members, and it might be like either an absorption or just like I'll pick it out of the bag. Maybe like a Philippines where like 1 goes to 1.
I was thinking it could be Philippine style. Yeah, it seems like it's going to be a non-traditional. Swap, whatever it is. One time at 12. We're at 12. Is that what we said? We said is the remaining number. Great. So in Without Play Out Left Toronto season 2, when we reached 12 people, we had already done 1 swap, and we were at 8 original red, 4 original blue. And when we were at 12, I said, everybody drop your buffs, rearrange yourselves into 3 new tribes of 4. And that is how we got our tribes for the next week, where we had a immunity challenge where 1 team won, and then 2 vote outs subsequently emerged at the end of that episode.
So Jared, we saw something similar at Survival Challenge. The question I have for you is, did they make the decision relatively quickly, like in proximity, like you're close to me, or did it take a while?
Well, because of my numbers specifically, like I said, there were the 4 original blue that were left in the game, and they sort of all made the snap decision, let's go together and hope we win immunity. And
that's so risky.
It is a huge risk, but is it riskier than like going 3 and leaving 1 person on 1 tribe, 2, or like splitting yourself into minorities elsewhere? I think no matter what, it's risky. It's the only thing that ensures, though, that there's at least one option where everything works out. So props to them. And if you want to see how that works out, go to youtube.com and type in Outlast Toronto season 2, episode 4.
Check it out. It's you're gonna laugh for sure. It's a whole new twist of Survivor. You're gonna love it.
Nasir with his advantage. What I just thought of is I think he was so adamant on not throwing the challenge because he didn't have a vote. We didn't know that he didn't have a vote.
Oh, that is a good call, McKenna.
Yeah, what? So if he found it like the day before we saw him talking to Danny and Deshaun about the challenge, he's like, oh shit, I don't have a vote. let's not throw the challenge.
That's a good solve.
That totally makes sense. And now I appreciate his gameplay on a fundamental different
You're
level.
welcome.
Wow.
My only call that I said before the season started that I said was a lock was that no matter what, Nasir will make the merge. Like, that was my only call that I was confident about. Everybody else on this cast, I was like, I don't know. Nasir makes the merge every time.
Gotcha. Nice.
I want to talk about Luvu a little bit more because they've been under edited, but in the especially last week, we got a lot of Luvu.
Queen Sydney. Sydney.
Okay, McKenna, you were my question. Her edit flip-flop today, 180. What are you thinking about Sydney?
I liked Sydney no matter like what her edit was. I like the drama. But I really loved them showing us like, yeah, I can spearfish. I'm a girl and I can spearfish. It's not always up to the Boston Robs, the Aussies, the Tyson, Rupert, where they don't have to be the go-getters, the providers. Like, we can do that too. And I love that they took the time to be like, you know what, with a season of like social change and everything like that, like this was a nice moment to be like, yeah, girls are here too.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
we don't just have to cook the rice. Like,
yes, dudes are not the only providers at all, ever. But to see Sydney not get one fish, but she said 9 fish.
Yeah.
She fed her entire tribe their own fish. Plus, you got to split another one with your buddy.
Everyone had 1.5 fish thanks to Sydney. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. And like, I don't know, there is a part of me, like I do see some dislike for her on the internet. And like, I get that as a character, like, whatever. I hate when people like, read personal things from characters, obviously. But like, I do kind of see that. But personally, look, I'm from New Jersey. I can't not support somebody with such a come at me bro attitude.
Yeah.
Like, that is her whole vibe. And like, I feel that.
Yeah, for sure.
What's your guys' take personally on throwing challenges? Because this season has really brought this to the forefront as a strategic move. Jared, what do you think if you were in Danny and Deshaun's shoes?
I think I'm so torn on this because in my head, it's hard to just get behind the idea of losing for the sake of winning. However, I also frequently say that the world, like one of the hardest positions you can be in come swap or merge is one of never having voted before. So I'm so on the fence about this. I know historically in Survivor, I believe that when it's happened and people get what they want, they don't really show that that's sort of what happened. They sort of like to have the story of it'll come back to bite you. So, hard to say. I can't believe that Erica is a big enough threat to throw a challenge over. But, I have no idea. The only reason I can't imagine that is because they haven't given me anything to imagine with her at all. I've barely seen her on my television. So
that's true.
And also, if we're going to talk about the way men and women are like, portrayed on Survivor, they never under-edited a man like they under-edited an Erica or a Purple Kelly or, the list goes on. They
Chelsea Townsend, yeah.
Ever. Jacob Derwin got a huge, and I love Jacob. Does Jacob Derwin get that edit if I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big, like, don't throw challenges, like, deal with it when you get there, because, like, you see what happens to, like, I2 when they go to get rid of Billy. Like, just everything, you get rid of all of your numbers. Some sort of, it sets the ball rolling to, like, lose. So I'd rather keep winning, keep the tribe strong, get your numbers to where you need to be, and then we can take care of Erica. Because if you're in the majority on that tribe, Erica's not weaseling her way in. Like, if you've got your numbers on that tribe, what can she do? If you get rid of everybody else, preach to her like Luvu strong. Get rid of everybody else. Get rid of Erica. There's ways around this.
Yeah, really. If you don't go to tribal, she's got no reason not to trust you or to flip or anything. She's going to go into a swap thinking, let's keep it strong. So I think it's really a bad move, especially for that to be the person who you want to target.
I know, and you guys keep saying swap, but I
dissolve or whatever it is.
Yeah,
but okay. The reason I say swap is because from their perspective, they can't think anything other than that, right?
Yeah, that's true. But you know what? I was still hoping to believe it or not, I really want a Stephanie and Bobby John moment to happen again in Survivor at some point. Like, I don't want that to be the one time in the history of Survivor we see a tribe go from 2 to 1 and then get dissolved or swallowed into another tribe. So I was like, small numbers. I'm hoping and praying. And then at the end of this episode, he goes, drop your buffs. And I'm like, shit, I'm not going to have the awesome moment of Shan and Ricard doing fire against each other. I was like literally praying for that moment. And I was praying for Ricard to go down.
Well, why, like, people would then just watch 41. Get them to watch Palau. Like, you got it.
That's true.
So, whoa, this is the only season where the tribe got demolished down to one person. You should go watch the old seasons because they're good too.
Totally true. My favorite tribe is Yasa. I love how complicated it's been. I love how messy it's been. And there's a lot of heart as well still on this tribe. McKenna, I saw you go like, what's your thoughts on Yasa?
Besides Evie being my twin, like, I'm just all in on Yasa. I thought they're really a cohesive bunch now. They found their groove. They're like overall winning challenges. They're not just scraping by and beating one other tribe. I think they have a little bit of dissension, which I was worried about. Like, the Evie, Tiffany, Liana, like, Tiffany's a little rogue, but I hope she can, when it comes down to like the actual move making of the merge.
Yeah, I mean, I love those three. That's like those three as an alliance. I want, like, I have not seen an alliance that I've really loved and rooted for in a very long time. I think that it's when you say that she's rogue, Tiffany.
Yeah.
I think it might be a little rogue to look at Xander and be like, yeah, I know you just lied to me because look at me. Do you think I you didn't call your bullshit? Like,
yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm not supposed to curse them. I don't know. But yeah, like that, like, could get her in trouble. However, I don't see her turning on these two other women. It also,
she had the thoughts. That's why I was a little bit of like, ooh, that alliance with Evie and Xander, I'm a little worried. Maybe we should get Evie out. Like, no, why not get Xander out?
Yeah.
Why get Evie out?
Yeah. Well, I mean, now that they all know he's got a powered idol, it'll obviously throw a wrench into things going forward. Although not now that Liliana has the most insanely overpowered advantage we've ever seen in Survivor. You can just take someone's idol now. Like, that's just all right.
They could be playing it at tribal council. She could be like, no, mine, thanks. But we'll vote you out now. Like, thanks for the idol on your way out.
I hope there's a rule that says you have to get the idol before tribal council starts.
Or before the votes are cast or something like that.
Correct.
I wonder when you play it, because if you play it at when he asks for idols or advantages, I would hope you would have to be like ask for it before the guy gets up to play their idol, right? Like,
wow.
Because if someone gets up to play their idol and then you're like, hey, do you have an idol? Like, that doesn't seem fair to me. But I would also think that based on the fact that he's phrasing it that way, that is when you play advantages.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I'm sure that if we go back and dig into it, we'll find the answers.
Pause it, screenshot the paper.
Look, Reddit's on it as we speak.
Yes,
people
absolutely.
are already thinking we're dummies for not knowing.
Whatever. We literally just started the podcast, everybody.
Yeah.
But Jared, I think you're right. We've been questioning why he added the word advantage to that phrase, because and the assumption we were making in this podcast is that it had to do with the shot in the dark. That would be the reveal.
That's what my thought. Yeah.
Okay, but it might be an overall twist with some of these things. Also, I'm old, everybody. So when they said knowledge is power, I got Schoolhouse Rock vibes. I was like singing the theme song. I'm like, what could this be? Knowledge is power. But I truly believe they are trying to change the gameplay of Survivor with this advantage. If it works out, if there's a bang for its buck, because then it makes telling your alliance about your idol a terrible move, which has historically for over like 10 freaking years been the move to make. It's like, I will solidify my alliance with my advantage, and they will trust me because I won't play it against them, and I won't do fishy things like Shan and JD do with here, you can have it. No, I want it back. No, give it to me.
I mean, yeah.
So I think it could really change the game. Like, you are not going to want to tell your ally that you have an idol if you know that there's a power in a game that can just literally take it from you when they need it.
Or do they want more of the Wentworth does not count moments where she didn't tell anybody about that idol?
Gosh, that would be crazy if somebody takes the idol right then, knows they're getting the votes, and it's like you're Xander and you're like, my idol. And it's just, it goes, flies
Xander
like,
does count.
And then butterflies are really like dead relatives. Well, idols are like butterflies flying away.
I really like, you know, as far as putting it into the episode, it is not great as a viewer to have like this confusion immediately afterwards to be like, how exactly does that work? But like the game nerd in me loves it. Like the game nerd in me was thinking about it today. I would have to go back and watch either Brad having his non-vote or Xander having his non-vote. But if they don't get the note that says you can't vote tonight until they go up to the booth, right? So hypothetically, if you have one of these idols that has not been powered up yet and nobody else knows that it's not powered up, can you give it to somebody, be like, look, you trust me so much, I want you to hold on to my idol. And then they go up to vote and it's like, what do you mean I can't vote? Like that, like, yo, that's just something that should be explored.
There's a lot of messiness with the rules, and at the end, when we get to tribal, I have another one that I'm like, if this happened, what would happen? I love those scenarios. But before we leave Yasa, I just my hot take on Xander is that, like, or maybe it's Survivor or it's life in general. No good deed goes unpunished. His best intention was to tell the truth, to come clean, to fess up for his Survivor sins. And he still gets caught in a lie. He's like, Xander can't freaking win. Like that dude, he can have all the power. I don't think it's going to matter because I think these girls are going to
he has everything in the world right now. The only thing I guess that really can save him from a vote is that idol. But I think he's well in enough with Evie where she's just going to be like, yeah, so you, me, and Tiffany, like we're gonna vote Liana. And he's going to be like, got it. And then there you go, by Xander and the idol and the extra vote.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how these new tribe divisions line up for him. Because I can see him being fooled into the very obvious thing not happening when the very obvious thing would be to get rid of him. Right? You know, and they all are aware of its power, and you know, even if he doesn't think Liliana knows about it, she does know about it, and he's got to be smarter than that. But I don't know if he is, and like, you know, maybe we'll find out. But like I said, the redivisions and the numbers are going to matter a lot, specifically for Xander's game.
So we're heading off to the immunity challenge, and surprise, we're not going to start in the water this week. I was thrilled.
Yeah.
We also got the Rebus puzzle right before that. Did either of you solve the Rebus puzzle?
Yes, but I can't remember what the Rebus puzzle is now, but it was like an arc with words or something like that.
It was the word learning.
Learning curve, that's what it was.
Is that what it's just learning curve?
But I didn't see the little like there was something at the bottom corner. I don't know if that was a nail or something in it, but it was learning curve.
Oh God.
Kristen.
Oh, Kristen has love for you too, but not for me. No,
Not okay, Jared. Take all the offense you want. Thanks, Kristen. Nice to see you.
Yeah,
Kristen and I played in Survivor New York 5 together.
And
Kristen
I
and I
got to
once
be
played
on production with Kristen. We were the same tribe leads at Live to Give this past summer, which was such a blast. And the two of us are so different in so many ways, but we found so many commonalities and had such a good time. But I love this note she says, because it's totally true, because that looting him.
She's gonna pull a Shan.
That is true.
These
Also,
younger boys.
Am I saying her name wrong? I've been saying Liliana. Is it Liana?
Liana.
Oh, I thought there was a second L. I've been saying it wrong for weeks. Oops. Glad to find out live on a podcast.
The more you know. It's a learning curve. It's a learning curve.
Thank you, Jason, host of Survivor, Angelica, for putting that down there.
Jared, knowledge is power.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
Okay.
But
I tried. Okay, the immunity challenge. So we're not in the water. We have this knot puzzled, which is badass. I love it. It's the coolest. They made knots into a puzzle. We've seen something similar before. We had an up and over team building thing to get through at the start. We had karate chop the rope, which was the thinnest. They did not even try a thick rope this season. They were like,
or encase it in wood or something like they've done before. Yeah.
There was almost the most pointless step of the challenge. It was like grab a machete and chop.
And Liana still passed it off to Xander. Like, girl, you can do it.
Yeah, that's so true.
Make her feel real comfortable.
They broke a couple GoPros as the coconuts fell to the ground. They got some good shots there, but man, those GoPros were probably messed after that. They're like falling on it. Yeah. And we have a very kick-ass coconut slingshot finale that I was here for. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I was okay on the challenge. It just seemed it seemed easy-ish.
It's true.
Where like I guess it's because they only have they're allowed 3 people per tribe, where they have to make it somewhat achievable, but it just seemed like, all right, get over this, and then the next obstacle is right there, and then the next is right there. It's all in like this little encased jungle area where I'm like, this could have been a little bit more spread out. Something like, I don't know. The puzzle, if you could call it, if you could braid hair, you could do that puzzle. Like,
yeah.
I got no business. It was a challenge.
Throw them in the water.
Well, the puzzle balancing on the water, yeah.
Something. Start in the water. I don't know. Oh, Jared, you have a fan.
Thank you for the acknowledgement.
Yeah. Jason, so true. But sometimes I wish in a secret scene we could see the Sandra sit out bench, because we had poor Heather there again, Erica, Deshawn, and Tiffany. And I always want to know, are they allowed to talk? Is Tiffany talking to these players? Because if they are, I wish I could hear something. I want to know if there's bonds being created. Because the only bonds we ever hear are when they do their exile twists, or their go to the other tribe, or it's always a twist where they're going off someplace. But there's always people sitting out at challenges on these 3 tribe seasons. And I'm always curious, is there any action, or are they sequestered? So do you guys know?
I think it's separate benches. Like
I know that in Survivor Angelica, there's a strict rule because it did come up, I believe, where if you're sitting out and you're on 2 different tribes, you probably shouldn't talk to each other. But
I think in real Survivor, like they have their separate benches, whether across the challenge from each other, or if they're like separated a little bit, like that they're leaning over. So either production might be like, hey, don't talk to them, only talk to the challenge or to yourselves. I don't know. That's just my guess.
It totally makes sense. If that was the rule, I'd still be like Googling eyes at the other tribe the
Yeah.
entire time if I was out there.
Jason made a good point about saving time, and when you produce a day that you plan on not only having a challenge and at the beginning of the day and travel at the end of the day, but you got to have somebody to go on a what they say 3 mile hike or 3 hour hike. Either way, like you got to plan for that to be in the middle of your day, so you need to have a shorter challenge. Also, speaking of planning challenges, shout out to Jason and the Angelica crew. Best challenges I've played in, I think, in maybe any LRG. Yeah, look into their stuff.
I love the editing, Jared. You brought this up. They're kind of like experimenting with some international Survivor things. Also going back to some of their earlier experiments. If you remember in Survivor China, they really experimented with challenge editing and some close-up slow-mo, some like quick close-ups. And I really love that they're tricking us on purpose in the challenge more than they've really ever tried. I love that Ricard gets a slow-mo for no like no reason at all. Like it's like, oh, and he's like, and they really gave it some time. I swear it was like 10 seconds. And I'm like, oh, he's gotta be him. Nope, it's not.
Well, as an editor, I think I knew. I was like, oh, he's getting this slow-mo shot. Like JD got the money and then it didn't end up. I was like, this isn't a go. I knew then Luvu had it because they gave him that like slow-mo, like, ooh, this is gonna be the moment. And
he still had 2 to take down. So, and then it hits the like edge of it and it like wobbles the most little amount possible. It was great. Also, shout out to Nasir at the start of the challenge when he said his phrase, because he did what I thought was the smartest decision, which was kind of waiting to the last minute and making sure the other teams have said it before you expose to everyone else that you have an idol. Like,
yeah, especially because he's already heard the other 2 phrases being said out loud. He just has to bank on whether or not the one he knows Brad had said it, and he knows Brad is gone. So he just got to wait for someone on that tribe to say it again, and he's got to think that that's what Xander's going to do too, and that's exactly what happened.
Yep. And Jeannie was none the wiser because it was let's fake him out.
I wonder
fell for it.
I wonder if Jeannie then goes back to camp and picks up the bracelet, and that we just don't see that. I would think we would if she did that. No, I would think we would see that too, but also, they are choosing to spend more editing time on like building characters going forward, I think, and if they choose to put that in, maybe we lose more of that like long, good, tense scene of Shannon and Ricard. That was a good scene to see, like as much as they showed us of that.
Yeah.
And good on Ricard for not giving it back. I think that Shan has to realize that that's what's going to happen and not ask.
Yeah, it would have been dumb to give the vote back, but my hope for this episode was like her realize like Ricard might be a little shady and just get rid of the vote. Like, do you need it? You have the idol. Keep Jeannie. She's loyal to you, and just get rid of it. That was my hope. It did not come to fruition, but
props to Shan. Shan was gone for 3 hours before Tribal Council. This could be disastrous for many a player. But Jared, I wanted to just take it back just a little bit because you mentioned the emotional value. You mentioned it made you emotional, all of the episodes. And Shan and Liana have a hashtag Black Girl Magic moment on the hilltop that really inspired me. And then they get a little real.
Yeah. And it is very interesting in the scene when Shan says to Liana, whose name I am now saying correctly, when she says to Liana, people don't know what to ask. And, Liana, being the genius that she has, shown herself, like, she seems to be an incredibly bright person. To realize that she is like she is very young herself, right? She's in her early 20s, and to realize that she's talking to somebody who is like maybe a little bit more than 10 years older than her, and still realize, wow, you are fairly young to potentially have experienced the loss of a parent, and like whether or not that's true, it's always like a hard thing, but to immediately ask like, oh, how how old were you when that happened? Whether or not it was recent, that is like the amazingly correct thing to ask that person of that age, right? Like if it was in the past couple of years, which it seemed to have been the answer, like amazing ask because it's a new thing to deal with. If it was something that she dealt with when she was younger, amazing ask because that's something that she's dealt with her whole life. Like incredible emotional awareness from human to human, and in the game of Survivor, that's like that's the most valuable thing there is in Survivor, right? So
yeah.
That was, and I forget about it on a strategic level. On a emotional human level, I was crying. I was weeping.
I felt like they almost sounded like sisters at one point, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, because some personalities can kind of like mimic other people, but they almost sounded similar, like they came from the same family. You can hear, as a teacher, I'll hear that all the time, where siblings will sound similar, and I was like, wow, they just. But their age gap is huge. It's like, what, 14, 15 years. It's an entire generation, basically, that separates these two. But I think they used the time wisely. They bonded. They gave each other valuable information, both of them, that they can use to their advantage. I think we could be seeing something special emerge. At least I kind of hope so, to see this develop more.
I just hope Liana doesn't get blinded by Shan, where it's like the older sister vibe, she shared this deep emotional thing with me, that like I'm gonna stick by her no matter what, where like, yes, it's great to have that person that you can have that with, but at the same time you always have to be mindful of, am I being played?
Are you saying Liana has to be mindful? Because I think that the person who was not being mindful enough from what we saw was Shan.
Interesting.
Shan from that edit being like, I've spent all this time with Ricard, but this interaction just proves that time doesn't matter as much as a human connection. Like, yo, Shan, you're the one who's going to get played. But who knows? She's also got a ton of weapons.
One of the beautiful fucked up things about Survivor that I absolutely adore is when two people are both playing each other's games at the same time. And we see this could be a moment because you both had that perspective. And I'd love to hear, like, watch an interview with these two players. But we definitely, in my opinion, I don't think Jeannie was completely unaware. We definitely see it with Ricard and Jeannie in that conversation because there's no options, right? And so their only option to talk about is to vote out Shan. But both of them are thinking other scenarios like, how do I get you out? And so this conversation is literally them both playing a game with each other. I could have watched it for 5 more minutes. Easy.
Ricard is just so aggressive with it.
Kirk.
If Ricard was just a little less aggressive of, so it's Shan, right? And I'm like, Jeannie's like, so there's fire. But I feel like if he just kind of calmed and was like, well, we're right here. We're two votes. I like, it would have been great if he was like, I stole Shan's extra vote that she got from JD. We have all the power. Like, I would have embellished a little bit more, because it doesn't matter if you tell her about the extra vote, because then she's just going home with the knowledge. So I would have tried to use a little bit more tools.
Yeah, and then you can even with the extra vote, if Ricard really felt like it, he could even strong arm at Jeannie and be like, look, I'm going to put 2 votes on Shan anyway as insurance. If Shan doesn't play the idol that you don't know she has, then I'll be okay. That way, but then Jeannie might read it into that being super strong about how fake that would be, but I don't know.
Have you guys noticed Ricard smiles in stressful situations? Like it's almost like a smirk. Like he just.
It's like he's sort of watching what's happening.
I know. And it's like, I'm like, dude, this is not a time where people would smile.
It's just like a sad moment or an awkward moment where you laugh, and it's like, ooh.
Yeah, I love watching Ricard. You know, I don't know whether I'm rooting for him to win or not. I haven't. I'm really not sure who I'm like rooting for yet. It takes me a while to really feel that out. Although, you know, look.
Well, you better pick fast. A third of the cast is gone.
I mean, look.
He'll wait till final six, and then
good odds.
The people who I root for to win are different than the people who I root for to stay on my television. And Ricard is somebody I want on the television as much as possible.
Yeah, I hear that for sure. I love that he's at what is this Final 13 Tribal Council essentially, and he's acting like it's the final Tribal Council to Jeff Probst, and Jeff Probst is the jury. He's like, Shan's trying to take all the credit, but it was my idea. I did this, and I'm like, bro.
Yo, wait, did he say that at Tribal, or was he saying that to Jeannie?
He was saying that to Jeannie.
Okay, yeah. When he said that, I remember thinking like, oh, if I'm Jeannie, I know this is a lie. Because of that being day 10.
That's true. But he kind of insinuated it when he was talking to Shan at Tribal. When he was talking about like, she's the closer. I come up with the idea, but she's the one that goes in and makes all the moves happen. And I'm like, okay, what are you trying to say? You're the brilliant one because you came up with the idea?
Well, Shan has the social skills then to like pull off his plan, because even if it is his plan, it's always going to go to the one who executes it. And if you can't execute it, there's something wrong with your game. Like, be a little bit more of that social, where like you can actually be the executor of your own plan.
Yeah, you guys are literally talking. What you guys are saying is my argument of why Monica Culpepper should have at least gotten more votes to win that season, if not win that season. Because, you know, good for you for coming up with a plan, Tyson. Monica went and did it every time. But like, good. You know, good for you, Ricard. You thought of an idea. Shan's going and doing it every time.
That's fair. I will give Tyson that season. He did fake an injury for a while to help advance him, and I give props for that. I know.
I'm not taking anything away from Tyson. Tyson rules, and like, you know, Coconut Bandits is iconic. You know?
Yeah, for sure. I'm a big Tyson fan.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's not much choices at Tribal. We got 3 people. But actually there is, because Jared, you threw out a scenario that could have occurred. Do you want to tell the viewers what you were thinking about in the chat?
Yeah, I mean, I did bring it up before. Like, Ricard has the option to strong arm Jeannie by saying, you know, I'll tie this up. But also, you know, Ricard really, by making Shan feel as comfortable as I'm sure she felt, he has the option, even up until he goes into that voting booth. If I write down Shan's name twice, as long as she doesn't play that idol, you know, she'll go home based on, you know, I believe they've changed the rules back and forth in Survivor history about whether or not you can play your extra vote again on the revote. I believe most recently, as we've seen it, you can play it again on the revote.
Yeah, I believe that you can.
So it's like 2 votes.
Yeah. So if there's a revote, once you go to revote, you again get to vote twice.
Okay. Cool.
So
cool.
Yeah, you know, that would ensure that the person that he's voting for goes home, as long as no idol is played.
Yeah.
Unless, what if like Shan and Jeannie vote Ricard, and then Ricard votes Shan, then Jeannie has the only vote? Does his extra vote count? Because he's the one, he can't cast the vote.
Oh yeah, you're right. I guess yeah, you're absolutely right, because he's in the tie.
Because that's why you never do the steal a vote for the person you're voting for.
Yeah, no, you're right. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. Then you definitely don't want to do that if you're Ricard.
Yeah, that makes total sense, because otherwise you put yourself in a lose.
So even my strong arming scenario is wrong. So everyone in the chat who didn't catch me, it was just a test.
Okay, so here's a scenario though with the new rules. This would, by the way, people at home, this would never happen. But what if Jeannie distrusts Ricard so much and isn't sure about Shan that she's like, they're voting for me. I got to use my shot in the dark, which she should have. And let's say Jeannie gets the shot in the dark. But let's say this distrust, let's say Shan gets the vote back from Ricard. And she thinks, this is my move. This is my moment. I'm going to vote for Ricard. And Ricard thinks, well, she thinks I'm with her. I'm going to throw my vote on Shan because Jeannie will too. And it becomes a 1-1-0 vote. Who the fuck goes home? Because Jeannie, can she vote at a revote if she used shot in the dark?
I don't think it would go to a revote. I think because Jeannie's technically immune, it would go to fire between Shan and Ricard. And I think it would be
So sad.
if it was 1-1-1, I think it would also be a revote. Do you want to flip? If nobody flips, it's deadlock. And I think it might be rocks because it would then go like whoever draws the odd rock out.
Yo, why would they do rocks when you could do 3-person fire? I'm sorry. Don't let Mark Burnett hear that phrase. He'll die of happiness.
Yeah, I mean, would I prefer 3-person fire? Probably, but it doesn't. The fire is typically between 2.
Yeah.
So like, I would prefer 3-person fire myself, but
I mean, why not at that point?
Yeah.
Like, is that really less like rocks is not the super huge, rocks at 3. No, it would be rocks at 2 because even at a 1-1-1 vote,
they all unless they would revote because it's a tie. I think they would all revote. My guess, or it's just deadlocked right there.
the reason I think it would be fire and not rocks is because the philosophy behind rocks is you punish the group for not making a decision, and there's no group to punish in this scenario.
Please, somebody who works at
Get
Survivor.
Jeff on the Jeff phone.
Yeah, Mark.
Get Jeff on the Jeff phone.
Mark, you got my
I got it right here.
I
watched some like
I'm right.
old rotary dial telephone with a long cord.
Yeah.
It's like brightly colored. Yeah, but seriously though, those of you that work at Survivor that watch these things, like, can you tell? Because we've been talking about this shit for years. Can you finally clarify, or do none of you know? Is the truth is we make it up as when we come to it.
Yep.
That's okay.
I gotta think there's contingency plans for everything. I gotta think that.
You do. I mean, it takes me back to Fans versus Favorites with an 8-member jury and a final 2. And he goes, if it's a tie, we'll open up this mystery envelope. And it's like, that didn't happen. But what did it say?
Why do I remember that? That sounds like something I would remember.
The vote was 5. The vote was 5-3 that season. It was literally one person flipping the other way. It would have been a tie.
Well, they did it at the end of, I want to say like Game Changers, where they said like if this wound up in a tie, we have a contingency plan or something. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen in HHH, which people thought because they said it at the reunion that a tie would happen in HHH. But it happened in Ghost.
Yeah, so if it's a final 3, then the
third person votes. Yeah.
If it's a final, are you saying, Kirk, that it was a final 2 and a jury of 8?
Yeah, Is it Parvati and Amanda?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Because remember,
Jeff gets a vote. Jeff's the honorary next juror.
He's like, it's my moment to shine.
I would threaten the jury beforehand that if they deadlock, nobody wins. Like nobody gets any money.
I'll go home.
No jury.
My thought was split it, but okay, we have different philosophies.
McKenna, that's the way to go. Share the money.
Yeah,
America loves ties.
Yeah, let's. Right. Okay. So before I go, gotta throw up.
That
comment. Kristen always coming out with these like left field ideas that are right spot on. I think wouldn't that suck if you're.
No, I don't know if that's what they would do, because think about it. That, like, from a production standpoint, we've already read the winner. All right, now it's a tie. All right, who was the first juror? Okay, who'd you vote for? All right, let's take that one out. Now let's figure it out again. Like, that sucks. Like, it's a great idea, but that sucks to watch.
What if they added, what if they were like the person who was booted before the first juror, the last remaining like non-jury member, they're like, guess what? You're now a jury member.
Yeah, I always thought it would be a fun
Call you back, like, hey, I know you're in Australia right now, but can you get on the next flight to Fiji?
Can you make a boot list for us right now?
We saw Michelle Fitzgerald, the queen, eliminate Neil. I always thought it would be an interesting advantage to find or to win where you choose a juror to double their winning vote. And you're
either that, or you could do the elimination, but you don't know technically who voted for you. I mean, in Micronesia, Ozzy was the obvious Amanda. So say like Parvati or whatever got the advantage. Obviously, she's removing Ozzy's vote. But like, if you don't know exactly who voted for you, then you could be removing your own vote.
So true. And viewers in the comments, the collective LRG Hive, I think there was an LRG where a player wanted advantage to have 2 votes at the end. And if anybody can remember what game this was, please message me.
Well, it wasn't at the end, but like in Survivor New York season 4, Paddock had the vote doubler that she used on Sarah. And so Sarah had 2 votes in season 4 of Survivor New York. But it wasn't at the end. It was in like it was in the merge or the tribal phase. No, it was the merge phase, I believe. The
one that Emily just played.
No, the one
that
she won
aired this summer.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
She won.
Yeah. Yep.
Which I gotta say, Jack Miller. If I ever see you in real life, I promise Sarah that I will beat you up. This is a real friend of mine. We were friends.
Okay.
I'm not threatening a stranger. I promise I am not threatening a stranger. Jack and I were tight. I love Jack.
I'm so embarrassed right now.
Kristen's shading you.
Okay. No, if you guys, those of you that don't know me, in my summers, because I'm a teacher, I go to all of these games. I'm such a super dork, and I mix them all up, and I have a terrible memory because I smoke too much weed. So anyways, sorry, friends. I forgot, and I don't know if we're supposed to spoil that here, Kristen. So I'm gonna change the topic, and we're gonna go back to my terrible draft before we end here. Here we go. My team is down to 3 members, just like the Ua tribe. Jillian is still rocking it out with 4, and Lance, our king, is with 5. Jared, looking at these teams, who do you think is going to come out on top? And who, you said you're not rooting, you don't pick yet, but if you're,
I made picks of who I thought was going to do well.
I want to pick.
Is such a weird thing for these shows because it's real people and whatever. So I like to root for the people who I like as characters. You're asking me, so what? What is the point system here? Is it just who's got the winner?
No, we don't do points. It's more like whoever wins, and the rest of you suck. So
all right, well then I gotta go. Jillian's team looks great. Looks the most solid. Although Deshaun and Liana are awesome picks for you, Kirk. And also Sydney's edit. I don't know. It's between you guys, not to shade Lance, who has 5 of his 6 people in. But I would I see one of them potentially winning of your 5. I see 2 of Jillian's potentially winning, and I see 2 of Kirk's potentially winning. So I gotta say it's between Jillian and Kirk.
Okay. I feel it's surprising. I feel a little bit better this week, even though I only have 3 people left than I felt this whole time. Jared, who is one of the characters, the stories that you are rooting for to see more of this season?
I want to see. So I want to pick somebody who we haven't seen that much, but also it's hard to say that because
you know, what am I basing picking Erica on besides she's from Toronto and I loved when I lived in Toronto? Like, no, that's not a great pick. My pick, I think, is Nasir. You know, like I said, preseason, I said he is a lock to make the merge. And I don't know. He's just like a sort of wacky, happy character that, like, you know, I love watching the people who, like in episode 1 when he's like, no strategy, and then he can't stop himself. Like that's somebody who's like, yeah, you play the game like I do a little bit when you're like, oh, I know what to do, and then you sort of do the opposite and like, you know, just go for it anyway. I love watching this year. I want to hear more about his story. The fact that Survivor taught him how to speak English, and we haven't seen much of like his backstory yet. Like, well, I feel like we're going to see some more of that.
Awesome, and good luck, Jillian. You got Nasir. That was your last pick, and it's paying off right now with that idol. McKenna, who are you rooting for to see, or players that you're rooting to see further on in the season? And who do you think out of our cast draft is going to take home the win?
So even though you lost 3 people right off the bat, a lot of times in drafts, the people that are doing well at the start of it, all of a sudden lose so many in a row, and then they're down to like their one person, which I think Lance's strongest person here is Danny. And then, you know, Jillian has Evie, Chantel, and Nasir, which are strong, but I think the 3 that you're left with are also like the strongest members of your picks. So I think you having it's definitely between you and Jillian, and it might be like splitting hairs where it's like you have 2 of the people in the final 3 and she has 1, and she has that one person who wins. Like I think it's so close between you 2. I think, yeah, Lance is definitely out of this, but
All right.
I think cool. I just relate so much to Evie, where it's like, if I were to go on Survivor, like her lemon button-down shirt, Old Navy, work at Old Navy. I have so many bow ties and wear the button-down shirts. Like it, if I were to go on, like I'd wear rainbow boxers just like she is. And I'm like, damn, like she's stealing my look. I'm never going to get on now because like, why have, you've already had the one. So why need 2, but we'll see.
I disagree because
I'm not being honest when I say I don't have someone to root for. I always root for the 2 categories of people, the 3 categories of people that I sort of identify with: people from New Jersey, the Jews, and the queers, and like queer too. Like you got me, you know.
Yeah,
like,
female queer. So like yeah.
And the thing I disagree about is that I think they like to cast the same type. How many?
So Evie, do well, please.
Yes. for McKenna's future to be in a
not too well enough that like people want to see more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Don't
and then have a busy schedule and don't be able to return.
I promise I'll fill your robbed goddess quota, Survivor, please.
Yes. Well, guys, this was a blast.
This was super fun.
Super
fun. Before we go, I just want to tell the viewers out there was a lot of people in and out today. Thank you so much for joining us in the afterglow of our favorite show. Remember that our network here at Live Reality Games, we're trying to expand. There's a million things to cover. I'm not joking. Like we're trying to cover more of the actual shows we like, but we also cover all of these live games, from the actual just events that don't record to the YouTube events as well. So if you'd like to come on or utilize our streaming service, we want to make this network bigger and have more representation, more diversity. So please check out, we're looking for people, fill out our thing, come up with an idea. Trust us, this can be a home for everybody. We want it to be a home for you. Jared, so good to see you again, my friend. All of you out there,
thank you so much for having me.
You need to check out Outwit, Outplay, Outlaugh right away. Head over to YouTube, subscribe. It's great content. You're going to love it. And keep on the lookout. Jared's got a big resume of games. You might see him at a future game.
And keep an eye on my Twitter at Jared Laxer. There's actually going to be more in the coming weeks or so announcements as far as the future of Outwit, Outplay, Outlaugh. So,
And I promise, Survivor Angelica, this phone, which has a lot of video. The one video that I uploaded was the one Jared wanted to see the most.
oh my God, we needed to.
I had to help out my buddy after I almost poked out his eye. So I'm still so sorry about that. But
hey, it's okay. Look, you won the point in the exhibition challenge that we were running. So like it was worth it.
He just can't see past here. It's fine.
And McKenna, thanks so much for coming out, repping your LRGs, and also telling us a little bit more about the Game Show Network. Where can we find that again? With Facebook and
everywhere.
Everywhere.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're newly to Twitter, so like best points of contact definitely Facebook and Instagram. So and YouTube, we have all our seasons on YouTube. We have our third mini season airing, and we have a long game that's already on the channel. So tune in to Survivor Game Show Network.
Absolutely. And how can people get a hold of you if they want to find you, McKenna?
Oh, McKenna Feeney, Facebook, Instagram.
Taylor, that's a great idea. I could use the money. Jason would hate me though. With that, friends, we'll see you next week with an episode 6 breakdown. Until then, have a good one.